Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cash Up, a weekly show where we converse with amazing folks in DFIR. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Elan Wright. Typically, I introduce folks who have been known in the field for a long time, many years, but today I'm excited to instead do something I've been wanting to do, which is introduce you to people who you should know if you don't. You may know Elan, but you probably know her as D4 Diva, which is both her website and her blog. She created D4 Diva to help digital forensics and incident response beginners really get resources that they need. She launched that website just recently, February of 2020, and she's just been rocking creating these resources since then. Elan's been in the broader IT sector for over a decade, and her transition into DFIR has been in the last 2 years. She holds an MS in Cybersecurity and Information Assurance from Western Governors University and a BA in Criminal Justice Administration. She's earned 10 certifications in Infosec, including having recently just obtained her GCFE. Elan truly motivates and inspires both me and others with the sheer amount that she has shared with the DFIR community in the last 6 months. It's truly motivational and inspirational that she's found the time and effort to share resources as she goes through her journey of learning DFIR. She definitively has the best home lab setup I've ever seen. She even has this incredible mural that she designed that says Forensicator. Seriously, you need to check out her lab. She's even got a store on her website, D4 Diva, that has some of the most gorgeous DFIR stickers and t-shirts I've ever seen. I actually have a really cool one in my cart. And on that, let me introduce you all to Elan. Hi, Elan.
Hello.
I see you're wearing one of the t-shirts that you designed.
Yes.
Totally gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I think what everybody would really like to know is how you got into digital forensics and what that path was for you.
So I became interested in computers when I was a kid. My dad worked for what was Sperry Univac at the time. And the first Take Your Kid to Work day, I thought it was amazing.
That's awesome.
So I started college as a computer science major, but math was my worst subject.
That's okay. That's okay. Love the tech, not the math. That's totally cool.
So I switched to criminal justice because there was really no more math involved. And the field also interests me because I liked investigating things. So I went to school on and off for several years. I had a son at a young age, and sometimes I had to work 2 jobs.
Yeah.
So,
but you still did it, and that is awesome.
Yes. So I worked several different jobs and was laid off a few times. One time when I was laid off, I found out that the unemployment agency had training programs. So I was able to earn my A+ and Network Plus certifications through that program and get my first IT job.
Oh, that's fantastic.
As tech support. And after that, I transitioned into identity and access management, which was a very non-technical job. So it was basically recording everyone's access in an Excel spreadsheet. And I did that for about 7 years before getting into DFIR.
Oh, wow.
So
how did you go from working in that IT and more administrative role there into digital forensics? Was it a hone back to the criminal justice degree you had done, or how did that work?
I decided that I wanted to get into DFIR around 2016, I think it was, and I started studying for security certifications. That's when I got my Security Plus, and I just decided I was gonna keep getting certifications until I got hired.
There you go.
And
that's how come you have 10.
Like, I love to learn, and certifications are actually fun. So
Some people think certifications are fun. Some people find them intimidating. I envy that you think they're fun. I find the studying fun. I find the actual certification process intimidating sometimes. But I think that's
yeah,
awesome that you were able to do that and really say, this is the thing that I want to do. And so I'm going to study for it and learn for it. And so you made that decision in 2016, and then you started working in DFIR in 2019.
yeah. And
And
it was after I gave up. I actually gave up because it wasn't working. So I thought it was because I didn't finish my degree.
mhm.
So when I was almost done with my degree, that's when a recruiter called me because I stopped applying. But a
Mhm.
recruiter saw my resume online and contacted me about the incident response job, and I
Well,
ended up getting hired.
we're lucky that recruiter did, and then you finished your master's at that point after you'd
Yeah,
already started. But we are so lucky that you did, because since you've been working in the field, you have been contributing so much to the community. Your blog has really, I think, helped shape others who are going along this same journey in either a career transition or first starting out in looking at DFIR. So for people who may not be aware of or have looked at, can you tell us a little bit about the D for Diva blog and how that started?
well, I saw like all these people doing this awesome stuff in the field, and I felt like I didn't really know enough to do anything. And one night I was just sitting there like, I should probably start a blog. And I'm good at being new, so maybe I'll just like go that route.
No, but it's awesome. And it's something that wasn't there, right? There really wasn't a good resource dedicated to beginners. There were very good compendium resources, right? So if you look at About DFIR or DFIR.training, those are great sites for people who are already well versed in trying to find a specific resource. But I know it's a question I get all the time, is where do you start? And it's
Yeah.
almost like you said, I'm trying to figure out where to start. There's nothing that
Yep.
says where to start. I'm going to tell everybody where to start.
Exactly.
I mean, Kevin Pagano says that the blog design and content are amazing, and thanks you so much for giving back to the community. And I mean, I think all of us feel that way. So you get this idea, hey, I'm going to do it. What has really informed what you've put there, what you've shared?
Um, it was based on questions I was getting on LinkedIn. 'Cause I hadn't joined Twitter then, so I
There was
joined.
a there was a pre-Twitter? No.
Yes, I was on LinkedIn for years, and it was like as soon as the job role changed, I started getting questions about how do I get into digital forensics, and so the site was entirely based on those questions.
Oh, wow. That's really, really great that you did that. I would say one of the things that people should know too is that your art is all over that blog in terms of the blog design and the ease of navigation. It's brilliant, and it really does stress a couple of different areas. And one of the areas that you stressed and that you started blogging about, and I mean, I came onto your blog in February, which I think is when it pretty much started.
Yeah.
And thanks to people like Phil Moore with This Week in Forensics for promoting your posts when they came out so everybody could see and learn about them. And brilliantly named, by the way. Your blog, your name is absolutely brilliant because it's so easy to remember. And I feel like DFIR Diva is both you and the blog. And I think that's so awesome. I love it. So I do want to compliment you for that. And all the artwork is incredible, and it really draws you in. But the content that you've put there and the different creations are great. And one of the first sections that I read when you first started your blog was about your home lab setup, which I'm sure people can see your incredible lab behind you right now. I love your rack there with the purple lights. But you've just got such an extensive lab. And I know we dropped the link a little bit earlier about the lab. Kevin did there. And I want to really understand, you have a really cool post about it, but how did you get this idea for the home lab that you have, and how you started on that journey?
So I started A+ training at a technical school, and they had a hands-on lab in there. But I wanted to do it at home too because it was fun to me.
That's awesome.
So I put an ad out on FreeCycle, and I got a bunch of free computers and printers to mess around with and to see how much I could fix. And I still have a lot of those parts.
That's awesome. You never know when they're going to come in handy, right? Like,
Yeah.
I have hundreds of old phones, and I can't tell you how many times they've actually been valuable to me because I was like, oh, wait, I have one of those in my library, and I can figure that out or check what the chipset is. So that's awesome. So you get all this gear from FreeCycle. How does all of that gear from FreeCycle that you're learning and transitioning and studying for your A+, how does that transition to the way that you started studying when you decided that you wanted to work towards being a digital forensics investigator?
So I added a forensics section to my lab. And like
No, it's really cool. And you have a really in-depth post on your website that truly goes into the actual like design of what you have in your lab. And what's great about that, if it's somebody's interested in playing and learning, they can literally follow step by step what you did, and they can create this on their own or get the thought pattern to start and then figure out how they want to create it and do it themselves and bring it together. Mike, by the way, was agreeing about your blog being brilliant, Mike Williamson. And James Duffy is saying that this is great, what you were doing with your lab. And what I love about it is, something that's often preached, and I don't know if people really grasp it, but you totally did, is that one of the best ways to learn is not just necessarily, there are all different types of learners, to sit there and listen through lectures and classes and study for certs, but to get your hands dirty and get on your own equipment. Because you learn by doing and investigating and looking at how different systems are and what artifacts they're leaving behind and knowing normal, which if you only ever investigate incidents, you're never going to know normal because it's always going to be the abnormal. So you have to build those skills, and the way you've done that and created this really brilliant lab not only just gives you a beautiful and well-organized place to work with access to all the different systems you need, but it gives you the ability to learn and get hands-on and to practice with your own data. And I love the fact that you started with FreeCycle because it's a good reminder that you don't need a large investment to start. You can literally ask people for their old stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. And for forensics, I'll definitely take people's old stuff because now you've got actual data potentially, depending on the device. Now, you do obviously have to be very, very careful. I'll give that caveat to purchasing things off eBay or FreeCycling. I usually do not raw examine those things without wiping them first and creating my own data on them. And the reason is owning contraband is illegal regardless of if you put it there or not. So please be careful with that piece of advice. I know many people sometimes advocate for the eBay buy and analyze, and I am actually pretty opposed to it because you could land yourself in some hot water if there's child sexual abuse material or anything of that kind of content on there. But I digress. But just brilliant, and I love the fact that you've shared those tips. So something else you've done recently is you've recently taken the GCFE, and as someone who's taken the GCFE and before that had a bunch of Infosec certs, what was the difference in the way that maybe you prepared for the GCFE or approaching the GCFE than prior certs?
Well, typically I study like every waking hour. And with the GCFE, I couldn't get it together until the last minute. So I had a month basically to finish the training and take the exam.
Were you doing the class on demand then?
Yes. Yep. Thank goodness. So yeah, I was rewatching all the videos I took a week off of work to index.
I think that's an important thing to note to people. You spent a week working on your index. That's a significant amount of time. And something people may also remember is that you took a month off of social media.
Yes.
To remove those distractions, to remove those questions, to remove all of that interaction. So I think that was a really smart decision so that you could focus. So congratulations on your GCFE.
Thank you.
What's the next cert?
LCFS.
Oh, I don't know that. What is the LCFS?
Or LFCS, Linux Foundation Certified Sysadmin.
Oh, wow.
I really need to work on my Linux skills, and that exam is 100% hands-on.
I love it. I love it. I love the idea of a hands-on exam, and I love the fact that you're like, I want to gain this skill, so I'm going to focus and study for a lab. Kevin said that indexing is a grind. He's going through it now for the GASF, the Advanced Smartphone Forensics Test. And yeah, right? Indexing is a grind. So bravo to you for taking the time and dedicating it to it. And Ladrina and James Duffy both say congrats, which is well-deserved. And it probably is a little bit daunting when you don't feel that you've had that same prep you normally do. And I only half joked about what cert you were doing next. So
that was my
but you do have one.
Friday splurge from last year.
I love it. That's awesome. So how are you practicing for that then, being more of a hands-on exam?
I need to start that training.
So that's okay.
They have it was a bundle. It was training included.
Oh.
So
you're getting the training and the cert together. That's really cool. So James has a really good question. He wants to know what indexing is. So would you kind of explain what indexing is and maybe how you index? Because I know everybody does it slightly different.
So the books that come with the GCFE, like for the GCFE exam, the exam is open book, but it's not indexed. So you have to basically create your own index in a spreadsheet so you can find things.
Yes.
I use like the Hacks for Pancakes method. She has a good blog post on coloring it, and I did that. So, and I also use Andrew Rathbun, his long method for like putting things in the index.
Right.
So you don't have to search for it.
So Andrew Rathbone has a great blog post. It's on aboutdfir.com about how he indexes. And Leslie Carhart, Hacks for Pancakes, has a great post on how she studies for GIAC certs using an index and her method. And I believe her website's tisiphone.net, TISIPHONE, I believe. But yeah, James, it is kind of like a self-reference. When you take a SANS class, which are the classes that are associated with the GIAC certs, you typically get a book per day for the class, and it's 3 to 6 books depending on the class. And so it's an open book exam with 6 books of detail. So you've got this much stuff. So an open book exam isn't that easy when you don't have chapters or one book or an index already created. It doesn't really help that it's an open book. And all of the answers, it is a knowledge-based test as opposed to a practical exam-based test. So all of the answers technically are in there, but you have to have known the material and studied it very well to be able to find it. So one of the techniques people use to study for this open book test is creating an index so that they have possibly any type of area that might be questioned, and then the reference to it so that they know where to go to what page in what book to be able to look at it. So yeah, it's a self-reference, and it's a reference that only makes sense to you. I mean, technically there is a soft index in the back of the last book for 500, for example, but it is such a broad topic definition with page numbers that it wouldn't be very useful if you were trying to look up the answers. I will tell you that I have taken a GIAC cert without ever making an index because I'm not smart enough to have put the time in to have done it. I passed, but I think I would have been more successful had I done that. James says that it sounds super intensive. It is. It's definitely worth looking at those 2 posts, James, like Elan said. And the method worked for her. She is now a GIC certified forensics examiner. So bravo. So I also wanted to mention in some of your pictures, I've noticed that you have an incredible book library in your home lab. What is kind of your relationship there with bringing in physical book resources? Are you using them specifically just for when you study? Are you reading them? How have you built this library over the years?
So a lot of the books have labs that can be done in your home lab.
Makes sense, right?
Like this is hands-on network forensics is awesome.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so you can like practical packet analysis.
I have that one.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of them. I love no starch books. A lot of them can be done in your home lab.
Well, that's awesome.
Malware analysis.
Oh, that's a good book. The great thing about all of those practical hands-on lab books and having your own lab is it gives you the guidance both ways, right? How to utilize your home lab that you've built, right? Like you could build this home lab and be like, what do I do with it? But it also informs what you need in your home lab for it to be extensive. So you've obviously created a very extensive home lab. One of the other things is with your site is you released it in February of this year, right before globally we had this change where a lot of people went into work from home or had some periods where they may have found themselves with some more free time that they used to have depending on their industry. How did that inform or change your site? I know that there's some specific COVID-19 resources on your site.
So that actually came from a LinkedIn question too.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, somebody asked on LinkedIn if anybody have seen a list of COVID-19 discounts. And I was like, I haven't, but I can make one.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's quite impressive how many discounts and training and services and tools there were pertaining to COVID-19 in this field. So having that one place to go with all of those resources, thank you for contributing that to the community.
And I admit I haven't been updating that one regularly.
Well, I think there's less actually happening there.
Yeah.
I know that you've absolutely been updating your DFIR free training section.
Yeah.
And I even saw a question from you on LinkedIn today, which, by the way, you posted at like 5 a.m. So I know that you are equally up as early as I am. So I was like, wait a second, did she actually just post that? Because I thought I was the only person up this time of day. But you posted the question about if you should keep that to free training resources or if you should include things up to certain price segments or include all the things.
Well, actually, that was for the monthly one.
The monthly one, yes, because you do your monthly wrap up, yeah.
Yeah, because right now it's $50 and under.
And it's amazing how many resources you find in that price point. I would also say that one of the cool things you do is you have a lot of your resources organized by who it's going to help, because it's not just DFIR. You have resources there for a wide array of InfoSec topics. Can I give you my personal opinion? My personal opinion is you keep both, but you keep them in separate categories.
Okay.
So that like you highlight these are the ones that are free because they're people who are limited, free up to $50. They're people who are really working with that limited budget. But then there are other people who may be looking for things where maybe they are getting their employer to sponsor some training or some learning. Or maybe they do have the funds, they've been saving up to take a class and they want to know what's available. So I think having both, but I think that category of free and very low cost training is immensely valuable to people who are looking to get started. I get a lot of people asking for those types of resources all the time. So I say, why not both? But I'm just taking the opinion of on the poll. I didn't take the time to expand on my answer because I felt like it wasn't there. So I'll take this. So you've built this incredible resource that everyone uses. What is your go-to resource?
Anything I can find right now. I really like the Discord server.
Yes. Digital Forensics Discord server, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I see things in there that I didn't even know I needed to know just by looking.
Right. Seeing the other questions and things people are talking about, it makes you think about things you don't even know to ask about as you're on your learning journey. That's awesome. Yeah. Digital Forensics Discord server is incredible. And it also allows you to network and meet people. And I love that too, because people can be such a good resource. Any other, how do you find all the resources that you pull together?
Google, Twitter. I do searches a lot. Like I'm up late.
Up late and up early. Gotcha.
I have insomnia, so I just
now I should
when I can't sleep.
I was gonna say I should wonder if that 5 a.m. post was actually still last night, if we're still on yesterday. Yeah. No, that's great. Ladrina is echoing that exposure to the community is exactly it. She said, quote, how do you know what you don't know? And the fact that you're listening to the questions that other examiners and other incident responders are asking so that you can identify areas that you can grow is just awesome, right? It's the greatest thing about this field is we can never know everything and you're always going to be challenged. Yeah. And I love the fact that you're actively seeking that. It's awesome. Any other resources other than the Digital Forensics Discord server of particular note?
All these books.
All these books. I love it because books are incredible resources, and sometimes people dismiss books as being dated material, that it's only good for a specified period of time. But most of what you're getting from the book isn't the recipe. It's the methodology. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if you're learning something on HFS Plus, because that's what the book is working on. And today things are in APFS because it gets your brain working right so that you're able to then apply it and figure out things on newer operating systems, or that you have the understanding to then be able to read the blog post. Because let's be honest, a lot of times blog posts start with an assumption of a certain base level of knowledge. So if you don't have those fundamentals, it's very difficult. So that's really cool. Yeah. So what's something people wouldn't expect about you? What do you do when you're not doing forensics, or you're not playing in your home lab or studying for a cert, which might not be much time?
I like to play around in Photoshop.
Well, obviously you're brilliant at it. Your shirts and stickers that I just discovered today on your shop, when you were telling me about it, they are amazing. My shopping cart's already full. And you're obviously extremely talented. So what gives you the idea to come up with these? By the way, there's an incredible t-shirt on there that I've got to tell you guys. What does it say, Elan? It was the one I was just telling you I really liked. I'm going to go to my own tweet about it. It says never underestimate a woman in cybersecurity. And it has like a reconfigured Rosie the Riveter, who's almost like a very modern looking Rosie the Riveter and very like nerd centric almost, but also a diva. Like the icon that you created for that is awesome. And I just love that. I can't wait to get my shirt. So it's brilliant. Where did you just these ideas just come to you, or you play around, or?
Yeah, I play around, but sometimes like an idea just pops into my head, and if I'm not in front of the computer, which is rare, I have to write it down so I can make it later.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is so awesome. Any other things that you're doing outside of digital forensics?
I'm starting to attempt to make beats again. I used to do that about 20 years ago. So I built a little studio in my lab.
That's really awesome. There are some very musically inclined people in this field. I know it's something we talked about a couple weeks ago with Cindy Murphy and Matt Linton. And then if you look at people like dual core, there's just so many talented people in this field who have these. And I'm just in awe because I have zero art skills. So I am just blown away by both your artistic capability and now knowing that you're dropping beats and mixing your own stuff in your studio. That is incredible. I look forward to when you start sharing that stuff. If you wind up, if you're just doing it for you, that's awesome too. But love the art that you're sharing and the way that you've by the way, the art is super classy, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to explain your art, but it's very classy. It's very, the styles of the writing seem very like old-timey photo 1800s reminiscent. Like if you go to the old-time photo thing at the boardwalk, like the fonts.
Described as vintage.
Vintage, that would be the word. Thank you. See, I don't know how to describe these things. The vintage style, it's so gorgeous, and so classy. I really love it. Just incredible. I hear that you also are a very big supporter of fostering pets and having animals. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, so I fostered dogs, a few cats too. I did that for about 15 years, and now I adopted the last one I fostered, and I'm at my legal pet limit, so I can't do it anymore.
Do you miss fostering?
Yeah, it was fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What's it kind of like? And this sounds like a horrible question, but is it difficult when you fostered and raised a pet and it's time for it to go to its permanent home? Or is it something that you feel good about because you supplied that?
It depends on the dog, really. Some of them I really miss, and some of them I'm just like, I'm so glad you got a new home.
Tara said #fosterfail.
Yeah.
I think that's in reference to the ones that you keep that you wind up adopting. Yes. And she said those are the best for babies. I know Tara Melton is also very into fostering pets. So I just think that that's awesome that you also give back and give your love to fur babies and give them homes and help them prepare for their permanent homes. And now that your house is full of pets, that's met its thing. So, let's get to the question that everybody always asks you, and the question that started your blog, and the question that really is what everybody wants to know from you since you've been so successful in this transition from IT to working as an incident responder. What's your advice for someone who's getting started in digital forensics field or is thinking, hey, I want to get into DFIR?
Start a home lab. And
I wouldn't have expected that answer from you. What are you talking about?
Get familiar with, there's a lot of free open source tools you can play around with and learn. Take advantage of all the free training.
Yes.
Join communities like the Discord server.
Absolutely. Have you joined any other communities other than the Discord server? Is there anywhere else that you're doing your networking or that you would advise people to do?
I'm probably on like 20 Discord servers right now.
Oh, wow.
There's also Facebook groups. I actually have a Facebook group section on my website.
You have a whole area about different networking groups.
Yeah.
And I think that's really valuable right now, while there aren't a lot of in-person networking events, that's a really great place for people who are getting started. What about certifications? You took this route where you did a lot of certifications getting
Yeah.
into Infosec. Do you think, what are your thoughts on that as far as people looking to get started?
So just to get started, it seems like Security Plus is the minimum as far as like the incident response side.
Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense. I think that's really important, though, too, to know which certs to get.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be overwhelming because there's so many, and there's
Mhm.
so many training classes, and there's so many communities, and I think that in itself can create a part where it's difficult for people to know where to start. And so I really applaud you for creating the D for Diva website and giving us all a place to start, right? You're giving that. What is the most interesting question you've gotten from LinkedIn that you were like, oh, there's not a resource for this and I've got to put it in my blog? Because I feel like that's where so much has come from.
Yeah. So I got a question about how to incorporate home lab experience into your resume, and I made a blog post about that. With because I was thinking about just answering it, but I thought it'd be better with like pictures and stuff.
But that's a really good point because you're advising people here when they want to get started to create this lab. And something that people may not realize is all of those hours spent developing and researching, et cetera, that is something that you want to include on your resumes. You're looking to get into this field. Is that something that you did? Did you incorporate it into your first resume?
Yes,
When
I
you
did.
and would you mind sharing a little bit about how you would talk about that on a resume?
So I had two sections. One was experience, like verifiable work experience, and the other was training. So everything I did in my lab, I put under the training section.
Absolutely. Very, very cool. And did you list it by like labs that you actually did out of books, or did you just list it as trained experience with Linux and with Wireshark, or how did you organize that? I know you have
Yeah,
a great blog post on it, but
yeah, I'm trying to remember now. I think I did like malware analysis or
okay,
PCAP analysis, just like general things that I've
just
been
general
doing.
topics.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And is that allows you to then really hit on those key words and frames, and then you can speak to that experience. So I
Mhm.
love the fact that you've taken the step to, when you are training and learning that, to put that into your experience section. Um, it, being that you did this amazing transition from other IT roles into digital forensics, um, how do you feel that those other IT roles that you've done, do they inform what you do now? How do they help prepare you as an incident responder?
So the tech support role did.
Okay.
Um,
How, what things in tech support really you feel helped prepare you for digital forensics or provide some background?
so in tech support, you also worked with like cases,
Right. Okay.
and you learned how things operated.
Right.
Um,
So it's good too because you not only do you have the technical skills that come with tech support, like understanding network architecture and being able to respond to problems on systems and dealing with computer architecture every day, but you also have that case management side of the house. And
yeah,
that case management side of the house really just pulls in that concept and also the investigative quandary, right? You're asking yourself, how do I figure out the solution to this problem? And that mental mindset is one of the harder things to train in digital forensics. You can train someone to understand a header and a footer, and you can
yeah,
train how to read a file timestamp and how to decode timestamps. It's completely different to train the investigative mindset or the mindset to try to understand and solve a problem. And that problem solving mindset already existed for you. And obviously, you're brilliant at self learning. You are phenomenal at self learning. It's very inspirational. So, thank you for being so brilliant with how you self-learn and then sharing that methodology with others. Because it really goes full circle that you've learned so much from creating your home lab, and now one of the things you're known for is your home lab. So I just love that. So thank you so much, Elan. Really have loved sharing this time with you today. Thank you so much for all of your contributions with your D4Diva website and everything that you've been learning and sharing in forensics. I think your story is so inspirational about how you transitioned and how you found opportunities and you grinded for it. 3 years of I'm going to do this and then getting there. It is absolutely fantastic. So just thank you for all of your contributions. You are fantastic. You're truly an inspiration to me, reminding me I need to produce more content. And now I have to go do my checkout and finish buying lots of stickers and t-shirts because they're gorgeous. I really love how much heart you put into everything as well. And it comes through in everything you do. So thank you. I can't wait to see what comes next from you. So thank you so much for being a guest today. James, by the way, says that this has been super an amazing stream and he's loved it. So
thanks. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Actually, next week, we'll be following on in this people who we've just learned about this year in 2020 in forensics who are doing some really cool, inspirational work. So next week, my guest will be James Duffy, followed by Devin Ackerman, Ladrina Sharon, Shelley Geisbrecht, Mitch Kaiser, Jets Liba, Veronica Schmidt, Shanna Daly, Kevin Brightwell, Rob Duhart, Geraldine Blay, Brian Moran, Lenita Hinch, Aaron Sparling, Catherine Headley, Richard Davis, Mary Ellen Kennel, and then finishing up with Kim Bradley for the year. So that brings us to the end of December. Also, one note, if you go to Elan's site, it looked like right before we got on the stream that there was a sale going on for about the next 7 hours, and those t-shirts were $7 off, or at least the one I was buying was. So I would totally check that out if you're interested. Thanks, everyone. Bye.